a lot as a family. One of my favorite things to fish is probably for walleyes. And I'll let these guys go next here.
I'm Dave Tesch. I've probably been fishing for 25 years plus. I started fishing with my grandpa, based on a resort up by Emily. So that's kind of where I started fishing. Yeah, I would say our main species we target is probably walleye. And this is?
Azalea Tesch.
What's your favorite thing to fish?
Eel pout.
Eel pout.
Oh.
Right? We learn new stuff too.
Well, that's really exciting for me because certainly on Winnebago, you know, there's always talk kind of around Valentine's Day of that being a thing. So whether that has already happened, the spawn, or whether that is yet to come, that's a hot topic down here. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of pictures coming out of Minnesota that I'm really jealous of, to be honest. So have you caught one before, or you're just on the hunt?
I've caught one a lot.
Yeah, you've caught one.
Got a few.
Yep. We caught some really nice big ones on Gull Lake, I think. When was that? 2 years ago?
Yeah, probably
2 or 3 years ago. And the reason why she likes them the most is because that's her favorite fish to eat. She likes the way it tastes. So, yeah, because
awesome.
we had never ate one before that. Like, we'd always catch them and throw them back or whatever. But, yeah, they are delicious. Boil them up with some 7-Up and good stuff.
Yeah, they're tasty.
Yeah, that is absolutely what I hear too. So on my to-do list, that's for sure. Now, you know, I've got to get right to it because, you know, while we're talking about you as a young fisherman, that was honestly, you are one of our inspirations for asking you guys to be on the show because we were actually at an event and we were fishing with some people. I don't know if I should tell you who they are or not. I'm sure that you'll know by the story. But the wife I had never fished with before. She was really excited to be there, and she told us about how she said, legit, that day I caught 10 fish and she was the reason. And so what you did is, you know, she went on to tell a story about how you sat with her and you sat with a Vexlar and that you were able to explain to her where the bottom is and what is a fish and where your bait is. And not only that, but how to jig and when to stop. She was very particular about the story, but she credits you actually. So congratulations for helping her catch that fish that day. So as a young angler, tell us about your love for fishing. Like, what do you love about fishing?
I like to catch the fish.
We all like to catch fish. Huh? Yep. Yep. How do you go about catching fish?
Lindy rigs.
Lindy rigs.
Oh, you lindy rigs.
Oh, it's open water.
What about in the wintertime?
Sit there.
You sit there?
Watch TV.
And watch TV. That is a good technique. It always usually comes through, right?
So then your favorite bait is a minnow on a hook then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you usually put on, like a tip up or a rattle reel?
Sucker minnow.
A sucker minnow?
Oh.
Do you have any
tip? Because a lot of times people end up using shiners a lot, and they forego the smaller suckers because a lot of people go to large suckers for pike, but you know people forget that the walleyes, they do like that little bit bigger minnow sometimes. So that's a really good tip.
We usually use a variety, like shiners and then the light pike sucker minnows.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember anything special we do to them in the cold, like if it's cold weather or the bite ain't very good? No? Well, sometimes we'll cut the tails off, stuff like that. Or we actually just learned something new from Nick. He was teaching us how you can drop shot for walleyes. So
on our rattle reels now we're running a drop shot where the weight's actually on the bottom and the minnow is suspended instead of doing it, you know, normally you'll have the weight above it and the minnow will be below it. Well, if they really are swimming around, a lot of times they'll get tangled together and then you wake up in the morning and wondering why you're not catching fish, and you'll figure it out when you pull it up and you pull up all 4 rattle reels at the same time. So
you know, that's funny
that
happens. That's funny that you bring that up because that is the second time in a week that we've heard that tip. And that is very awesome because it
was brand new to us.
Yeah, it seems to be catching on a little bit. So especially overnight fishing.
No, and it, it works out good too, if, being walleye fishermen, if the fish are actually, a little higher off the bottom, you can pull that up quick and adjust it, where you don't have to retie, and do all that stuff, where you can just slide that drop shot up to different depths and your bait will stay right at that depth, which is nice.
That is awesome.
That is really, really great. Well, and I find myself a lot of times having to put my Vexilar back down, check where I'm at or whatever, make those adjustments. But when you're set up like that to be near the bottom, when you have the weight kind of already set like that, that's really easy, especially when you do have a family that you're getting involved, that you can tell them, hey, go and set that up. And that's something that's possible for them to do.
Yeah, and we've also, on our like our rattle reels and stuff, we do tie a bobber stop on there, kind of to mark, so we don't have to pull our markums out or whatever every time we redo it. Catch a fish, you can just drop it back down to that bobber stop at the top of the water, and you're set.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and so how many lines can you have in the water in Minnesota?
2 apiece.
2 apiece. So what I'm hearing is that maybe each of you are going to have maybe a rattle reel or a tip up out there. But I'm hearing that you guys are doing quite a bit of jigging, huh? Because you know how to read a graph then.
Yeah, that's one thing, like, as other, parents, I would encourage them to just, you never know, try to teach your kid how to use a flasher, be familiar what it looks like, because they actually kind of enjoy it like a video game, so to speak. Because she's been using one now, I think, for, I don't know,
2 years.
2 years. And she does it all herself, can set it all up herself. And it's just fun to watch that fish come up off the bottom and it, hit something. And I think it really teaches her a lot about the reactions, like, oh, they don't seem to like what I got on, I better change jigs or change my jigging pattern. She'll even, like, I've watched her, if the fish ain't reacting or come in, she'll hit it off the bottom a few times. Trying, doing just different little stuff that she's either seen us do or she's learned that herself just from fishing and watching her screen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is really awesome. So, I mean, we are, in February at this point. How much ice do you guys have up there?
A lot. Right now, I mean,
we're probably at about that 18 to 20 inch mark right now. Millie Lacs still really varies. Wherever there was a snowpack or a drift is a little less. On the roads and stuff that have been opened up with no snow, there's probably 25 plus inches ice on them. So, I mean, it's pretty much safe travel everywhere.
Yeah. What, we're running out of walleye that's going to close down here.
Yeah, we only got 2 weeks left, I think, and then we're done. So, with walleye.
Well, and that's a really great reminder, because no matter how much ice we have in places, sometimes people are on lakes that, had spots just recently that they could get to, but, seasons do close, and to remember when that is honestly the most important part of being a sportsman. So you said that you were in Minnesota and that your season does close in about 2 weeks. So I imagine that you're going to maybe hit it a time or two before that, huh?
Hopefully, yep. We don't have any more. She had basketball here this last weekend, so we didn't go out. And it was just so cold. Like, to be honest, I'm like, it's just so cold out there. Why put ourselves through that if we don't have to? So we stayed home here this last weekend, but I think we're going to go now next weekend and go out and see what we can find.
Yeah, the weather's supposed to improve a little bit. So I think we're going to try and get out once again. We were actually out walleye fishing this last weekend on the Wolf River and ended up just catching a few little perch. So it was very uneventful for us.
Hey, you didn't get skunked.
Or the fox,
Yeah.
yes, sorry.
As long as you don't get skunked, right? You caught something.
Well, and honestly, they probably, if we were keeping fish, we could have probably kept most of them for eating, but it was very funny because it was the same thing from everybody. You could put down a bunch of walleye lures and you get a bunch of follows, and they'd follow it up almost all the way to the top of the ice, and then they would go back down and they wouldn't hit it. And we just happen to be pan fishermen by trade, so we have like our one walleye rod with like four walleye lures, and then the rest of it's panfish stuff. So we're like, oh, I wonder what else is down there. And then we started catching perch. So all of you that are fishing into pier, fish for perch, because that's what's following your baits around.
Nice. So you mentioned a few walleye lures. What are some of your favorites?
Well, I'm starting to play around with the hard baits more, especially for crappies and bluegills. And so I have a few ripping wraps and some of the jigging wraps and stuff. And then from my leftover, I used to live in Minnesota. I actually used to live where you guys live.
Yep.
So some of my leftover tackle box.
Our daughter just came home.
Hi. And but from some of my leftover tackle box, I have some rattle spoons and stuff left over. So that's kind of what I go for, but I don't spend a whole lot of time doing it, so I need to get back into practice of doing it.
Well, and like Josh was saying, because we don't spend a whole lot of time, especially ice fishing walleyes, I tend to look and see what other people are doing. So there's some really great videos of people, ice fishing the dam in Green Bay on that Fox River there. And honestly, I don't know if it's because it's the river system or what, but something just like a jig and a minnow. Like just like what people are using in summer. And I guess that surprised me a little bit because I do focus so much on panfish. I expected that size to change a little bit, but again, maybe being the river fish or not, that bait, just match the hatch kind of thing. I don't know. Things aren't really hatching in winter, but match what they're eating.
Azalea's got a few here that you want to show your favorite lures?
Yeah, what are your favorites?
You got to hold them way up so you can see it.
How?
Like, probably
You
go like
hold it.
this.
You hold it.
I don't know. Can you guys, where am I going? This way?
Right
Oh.
there.
Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
Maybe not.
I think
It
maybe.
might not work.
It
Yeah.
might not work,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
one of her
No, that-
favorites.
That was good.
A buckshot, a
Perch-colored
perch-colored buckshot. What other ones you got over there?
This thing.
That thing?
That thing.
It's like a flutter spoon, I
I
think.
don't know.
I don't know if I can get this sort of. I'm sure I'm gonna look like such an old lady here trying to.
Okay.
That's her other one, and then I don't know what else.
Polka dot.
Oh, the polka dot one here.
Wonderbird.
Oh, there you
yeah.
No, I think I gotta go that. Oh my God, this is so hard, you guys. All right, and that's her other one. Them are her three favorites.
Oh, good.
Do you like them for any certain reason, or
The fish like them.
the fish like them? Okay. Well, and I don't know, like most people, I think probably already know this, but walleyes with how they feel vibration. So I think I'd say it's 50-50 the stuff we use if it's got rattle to it or not rattle to it.
Our main thing, I think, we use a lot of stuff that glows.
Yeah.
And we found with like the venom lures and stuff like that, it seems like their glow does actually last for quite a while compared to a lot of the other stuff we use.
This Widowmaker one.
Yeah, we have the Widowmaker stuff too. The Slab Seeker, the new one that they just came out with, is
You want to try to
really
hold
well.
that up?
Yeah.
That is a pretty cool one. And I gotta say,
Oh, it's pink.
oh yeah,
Pizza.
I have that in my tackle box, so I'm gonna try that. You guys are talking about the glow. Does that mean that you're night fishing, or does that mean that you're fishing really deep, or you just think that glow has an effect?
I need a different chair.
Grab a
Earlier
chair.
in the season, we started out kind of fishing like the first breaks and stuff on Millie Lacs. So we'll fish from anywhere from 8 to 10 feet of water. The glow isn't, there's no snow cover, so it's not dark. Right now we have so much snow cover on the lake that
It's pretty dark.
It's dark down there, even with the water being so clear.
That's better.
So yeah, we've just kind of grown on the glow. We always,
Well, and I think if you're fishing, a lot of the times when we can move out to mud flats, then that's 24 to 28, 30 feet deep. So, I mean, of course, it is going to be darker down there, especially on the Millie Lacs. I don't know. I like red. Seems like I gravitate towards stuff that's a red glow. Dave, I think blue and white.
I like the blue.
We all kind of have our favorites that we use all the time. It's funny. We have 3 jig boxes. And honestly, I probably use 5 jigs in that box. It's just, but we keep collecting them all the time. And then with Millie Lacs being such a clear lake too, I think using mono string, we usually run braided on our lines, and then we tie like a swivel on, and then have the mono, because it is such a clear lake. And the same thing with our rattle
Yeah,
reels.
our rattle reels too. We'll run like anywhere from a 6 to an 8-foot leader of mono on our rattle reels, something a little longer. And then we use from there up, I like to use the fly line because you can get it in a bunch of different colors. So when they do get tangled together, they're a little bit more color coded for the untangling.
Yeah. Comes in really handy.
Make it a little simpler.
That's actually a really great tip that I don't think people talk about enough, because, you know, anytime that you have groups of people fishing together, so whether that's a hub or a shack or just in a group of some sort, if you do have a way to color code that line, and like you're saying, you're using a long leader, so that's not making a difference to the fish, but especially as the angler, as the dad guide, as the mom guide, whoever it is that is pulling that line out of the water, if you can have it color coded, that really truly is a great tip for getting things untangled.
Really helps with them 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It
definitely speeds stuff up, instead of cutting it all off, at least you can get it untangled and get it back in the water.
Yeah.
Well, and another
I think the other biggest.
Oh, I was just going to say another cool thing about the fly line is that it's kind of a new thing, and it's not really new to people that are like very versed in rattle reels, but as an industry in the whole, you've seen Clam come out with rattle reel line. You've seen several other makers come out with rattle reel line, and all it is floating fly line, like probably 6 weight, 7 weight, probably.
Yep.
And you can get that, I think I looked up that rattle reel line because I recently built some in my basement, and the ice or the rattle reel line was like $20, and you can get twice as much line that you need
fly line
for like $8 off of eBay.
Yeah,
and a lot more.
Even at the local bait shop here carries it. And that's about the same price there. You can get 60 feet or something for $7.
Right.
So it's really inexpensive.
And it'll last forever.
Yeah, and it's nice to we'll use it on like our tip ups that we put outside, where like the rattle reel stuff is braided, so when it does get cold, it freezes. And if you're putting it down and you go to set your depth and it thaws out, and you'll come back and check it, it usually is on the bottom because it's stretched back out and unfroze. Where this stuff doesn't do that.
That's never happened.
No, never.
So yeah, and I think too, it's just nice, like with Azalea being with all the time, it's so much fun being able to do this together as a family. Like one thing I'm really thankful for is the fact that we all enjoy doing this together. We had an oldest that walked through here. She used to come with us, but she's graduated out of hanging out with the family, so
it might come back around.
Yeah,
it might.
You never know.
You never know.
She goes fishing with her friends, just not with us. We're not fun.
I'm a little bit split on topics because I want to ask you one more question about spoons, but that also makes me laugh about your daughter because I'm going to ask about new people on the ice. So I guess hold both those thoughts, and it's going to be awkward, but we're going to do it. So you were pulling out all your jigs, all your spoons. Do you just, throw that down there? The glow is what does it, or do you have a bait that you put on there?
We usually use a fat head, just like, you take a fat head and then like pinch it off or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what we put on there. And just kind of based off of the reaction of the fish, depending upon if we make it bigger, make it smaller. Dave, he calls it the full meal deal. He'll also tip it with waxies and stuff with fat head. If we can't get no fish to bite.
Yeah.
We've tried a little bit of everything.
She's tried like candy and stuff before. She's never successfully caught anything, I don't think, with the candy, but
we started using the billy rod too in the different flavors and stuff. And they're all kind of the same. I don't know. I like to use the leech one in the wintertime because nobody's fishing with a leech, so maybe the different scent helps out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of different tactics you can try.
Well, and that makes me laugh because, we hear constantly that sometimes just doing something a little bit different, whether that's presentation or scent or whatever, sometimes that gets the bite. But it also makes me laugh because a few years ago we were on the Wolf River down, where's the bridge in?
Oh,
whatever.
Winnicott.
In Winnicott. Thank you. That's exactly what. And there's all these people with all these boats coming through this narrow channel and this bridge there, and not many fish are being caught. And I got so sick of it, and I put a leech and a worm on a hook, and wouldn't you know, that's what caught the fish. So I actually really love your theory.
Isn't that funny how it works? Or it's like you can be jigging forever and ever and ever, and finally you'll go to get your phone because you're bored, and you're like, well, what's going on? You know, let me look at my phone, and then you'll get a bite. And never, like, if you want a fish to come, be screwing around on your phone, and they will come, because
Yeah.
that's when I always get a bite.
Yeah.
So the other thing I said I was going to bring up, you're talking about your daughter, if she's fishing or not. And I think, we keep hearing about in Minnesota all of the extra anglers on the ice this year. So I know that I've even heard
Few extra people out there.
It's packed.
Yeah, a few extra people out there this year, which is great. It did make it a little more challenging maybe to find spots, because a lot of the spots that were kind of go-to spots were already taken. So you kind of had to be a little bit more thinking outside the box, like maybe fishing them transitions and stuff that maybe not everybody would know about in the lake, instead of just setting up on decent structure. Like one of the panfish lakes that we go to, everybody would kind of hit that crappie hole. And we just kind of had to change up our game plan a little bit this year.
Has that been an opportunity for you to bring new friends out on the ice?
What was that? You cut out.
I said, has that been an opportunity for you guys, though, to bring new friends out on the ice? Have you brought?
Yeah, we. Trying to think.
I don't know about new people. We've had a few people come out.
Well, Nick.
Yeah, Nick was out with us from Razor.
We don't have any friends.
During this have, right? No. But I think that's the thing. When everybody is already out on the ice, I mean, Minnesota is already known for being a fishing state in the first place. And I just think it's awesome. I gotta laugh at, how there's so many people out there this year. So that's awesome. And we can't wait to see everybody out there.
Yeah.
You guys will have to come over and see us sooner or later.
Yeah, and you guys, you guys being the state of Minnesota, just had the Brainerd JC tournament, and that was virtual this year. So literally, the whole state of Minnesota was in that tournament, and that was just a really cool thing.
It was. I think they had a pretty good turnout. We did actually fish it, and we actually Azalea entered a fish. So.
Oh, awesome!
It was a lot of northerns.
Yeah, a lot of northerns.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't get anything. Tastes like
we were down there
400 and some or something. It was way down the list. But it was neat, just to see that many people all out on the ice at the same time competing in it. It was just a different experience, because we've been there pretty much every year, out on the ice, and you get to do a lot of visiting and stuff then, but you don't really ever see the catches, so it was kind of neat to actually see what people were catching.
Well, and because what you're actually referring to, for people who are not familiar, this was hosted through an app called Fish Donkey. And so you were able to sign up for the tournament through the app. And then tell us a little bit about, entering fish. How did that process go for you guys?
It wasn't too bad. We actually, last year, we ran a kids tournament through the Fish Donkey app through us. Basically, what you have to do is you got to take a picture with you, and it has to be on a bump board, a legal bump board or whatever you want to call it. And then they want to picture you holding it so that you have proof that you're holding the fish. And then
a video too, don't you?
A lot of the tournaments that they do run through the Fish Donkey app, they want a release video of you releasing the fish back into the water. The JCs didn't ask for that. They didn't need the video. They just wanted picture proof. So.
It's just a really neat way, I think, though, to get everybody together like that, and fishing, especially during this COVID stuff where we can't really group up. There is, I think, fishing on ducks. Is that this weekend?
Yep.
There's a fishing on ducks tournament this weekend on Millie Lacs Lake. And I'm interested to see how that'll work, because they're having 2 different areas to fish, which they've never had to do before. So it should be kind of interesting.
Yeah, but like you're saying, even with those virtual tournaments, when you have the ability to see every fish that's entered, on the bump board or whatever, that is a really cool aspect. And, you kind of got to love being able to follow along. So that is pretty cool either way that it goes.
It is fun, especially watching some of the release videos, because nothing ever goes as planned usually when you're trying to do something like that. So you usually get a lot of funny bloopers in there with the release videos.
Yeah.
That is true too. That's funny. I've definitely used the app and I know that I've had a fish like flip back out of the hole. And it's like, why would you do that?
No, you're supposed to go the other way.
Awesome. So, we have a few people commenting about, different striker gear that they like, and, tournaments that they've been a part of too. So that's awesome. But let's hear a little bit about some of the gear that helps keep you guys on the ice.
All right. Azalea, do you want to start? Do you want to show them your coat?
Sure.
All right. Well, Azalea will get hers, and you can talk about yours if you want. But Azalea wears
The kids' teal.
Predator.
Kids' teal Predator coat.
That was good. They should pay you for that.
Yeah. And I think, as a parent, it's really awesome that it floats. That's a huge feature for bringing your kid out on the ice, just a little bit of safety. And then she's also wearing the kids' Predator bibs and some hats and gloves. I think she's got gloves. I got the new
I
ladies
have my
prism jacket.
nice gloves.
Oh, nice.
Which I don't know if everybody knows this about this coat, but one of my favorite features is this back pocket. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm probably too far away. But there's
It's
like
okay.
a
I can
pocket.
see.
Yeah.
There's a back pocket that runs through the back. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. I do have stuff in here. I don't know what I'm gonna have in here. Oh, my gloves! I was looking for these, so I got my gloves in here. But it's just nice, like you can, it's nice that they thought of that in the design and utilize that space because it runs the whole back part of this. So it's just a nice shot and to utilize that design, and it just has a ton of pockets, which has always been one of my biggest complaints, I think, with women's gear is that they don't put enough pockets in it. And then the other thing I think that they did different is I think they made the sleeves a little longer. Like this coat just fits me a lot better than the other model. And I just love it. It's really warm. It's got the magnetic closures too, which is really nice. Keeps all that wind out. And then I'm also running the pants, the prism pants.
Yeah.
Instead of the bibs this year, which are great too.
Well, and so, gosh, that's really good points. Striker this year for women does have the bibs and the pants. So in the past, everyone has heard about how the bibs kind of, zip down on the sides in case you need to, use the restroom while you're out there. But even the pants have been a very user-friendly option. And, to have the option between both is pretty great.
I think just working with a company that is offering more options and listening to women is amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that they're listening to not just women, but their customers in general, like how the hard water jacket or the bibs came out with a 4-set folder and stuff. Just the fact that they listen to their customers is huge, and you really see that in the designs of their clothes, I feel like.
Well, and another really great example of listening to the customers is, Azalea brought her jacket out. She was so excited about that. It's that teal color. So first of all, that is brand new this year.
Pretty.
But it is really great to have the different options because, the kids suit has been so popular. And to have the different options for, let's say that you have multiple different children, it even comes in that really awesome, like veil strike pattern.
Yep.
So, the teal is perfect. But the most important thing about all of those suits is that float capability.
Right.
So, we're talking about how much we love pockets and how much we love like the 4-step grips and how much we love the colors. But most importantly, we can talk about that because every one of these items is safe.
Right.
Well, and ideal, and the other thing that I want to put in there is that even the youth line has the foldable hem, and so you're not having to buy that same suit,
which is huge for kids.
As Azalea grows, she'll be able to just roll it down until she can get an adult pair.
Yep. So we've only got her one other pair of bibs, and they were the 6, I think a 6, weren't they? and she's 10 now. And I mean, with as much as she's been fishing, she wore them for 5 years.
Yeah, quite a few years.
I think 5 years, and we actually passed them down to somebody else. So they're still out there being, it's not like they wore out or got old. They're still out there being used. She outgrew them, but it took her a long time because of how much adjustment you have in that bottom cup, and then also the straps adjusted so much as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I definitely always recommend buying them a little bit bigger, just so you get a few, you're going to get a few seasons out of them either way, but if you buy the right size, you can probably get 4 or 5 years, depending upon how your kid grows.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a really great point, because we're not even talking about the durability, because in this conversation, it's kind of an assumed thing. Even if you have a kid who's wearing it to recess, those knees are reinforced, those hems are reinforced, all this. Awesome. So, the durability of the suit is there. If they're sliding on ice or, whatever else that is going to hold up.
Yeah, it is really one nice thing about Striker is that the quality is always going to be there, and I think they don't only do that with the adult stuff. It's nice that they also put that into the kids' gear as well, because they're usually harder on stuff than anything.
Well, and did I also see that Azalea still had her gloves? Like, did she pull gloves out? Because usually, so if you can get gloves enough to not lose them.
Yeah, she likes her gloves. And they've been going back and forth to school too.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Not every kid can do that.
No,
Well, usually they go to school. They don't usually come back.
exactly. You usually get one home.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome. So what is coming up for the Tesch family here?
I think we're gonna probably hit the ice this weekend. Probably fish. I don't know. We'll probably check out the Ducks Unlimited tournament up in Garrison and see how that goes.
Probably a few more weeks of walleye fishing, then we usually switch gears and we'll change over to pan fishing, just because that's usually how we done it. Just it's like deer season. We kind of go through our fishing seasons like that. So I'm always usually excited to switch over to the panfish bite, just because it is so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's really what we're all about. We're all about the panfish. We have our couple times a year we'll go for walleyes and stuff, but really we just spend our time chasing those little panfish around. It's frustrating sometimes, but it's really fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and like you're saying, if you are having a season that closes at some point, if you can switch gears on something else that is open, especially if we're going to have ice, it's been so cold. If we're going to have ice until like May.
Probably would be lucky to get the boats out.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. The other thing that we are really hoping for, I guess on a side note, is we always run into at least Val and Dave at the shows. So that wasn't something that was possible this past year, but that's something that is hopefully going to be this coming year. Nobody knows that yet, but I'm crossing my fingers, that's for sure. And, we were talking all about, a woman, a man, a kid, when you talk about the versatility in suits, you guys are really great at fitting those suits. So we can't wait to see you guys at the show.
And it is always so much fun getting to meet people at the show. That is one thing I really missed about this year is, it's just nice to get out there, talk fishing with people, meet new people, see what's coming out that's new. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully they'll come back around next year.
Awesome. And then for people who maybe don't follow you but would like to, how can people do that?
Oh, well,
Just on Facebook?
We're on the Facebook and Instagram. I'm Lady on the Lake on Instagram or Val Tesch on Facebook.
And I'm Tesch 301 on Instagram and just the Tesch on Facebook.
And Azalea's not zip yet. She's not allowed. She's not allowed on the Facebook.
Yeah, but to document that whole family experience and everything, you do a lot of fishing, you catch a lot of great fish. Val, I'm jealous of all the walleyes I've seen you with this year.
Well, you gotta come up here. I haven't even really caught anything decent.
Well, and it really has been on our list because, like I said, my parents still live really close to you guys, and it just with the travel restrictions and stuff, that it was planned this year and we just didn't get to it. So, maybe later on before, for last ice for you guys, because we're probably 2 weeks behind or ahead of you guys as far as ice goes, because we probably just hit that 14-inch mark.
Okay.
So we're probably 10 inches behind you for ice. So if we need to get some more ice action later on in the season, we'll head up your way. But
Awesome.
Sure.
You guys are always welcome. That'd be fun.
yeah,
If you don't make it up for ice, you'll have to come up this summer.
yeah,
Absolutely. Well, and we will definitely keep following you on Facebook or Instagram and see how it's going. And hopefully we'll be there with you guys soon. And other than that, thank you to everybody who is online. If you have further questions or comments, feel free to leave that. Otherwise, thanks for joining this episode of Hook, Line, and Striker.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.